Good afternoon on what is a cool, bright and clear afternoon. It is Friday the 14th of January. I'm back in the Read Nook with a cat who's not ours, a nice hot cup of tea, and a big box of things to dig into, amongst others. So the next thing I'm going to pull out of this, well, I've already opened this, and the first thing I pulled out was this. That's the advanced Dungeons and Dragons 2nd edition Dungeon Master's Guide, essentially the reprint from print on demand version from drivethrurpg.com, and then the next one below that, see if I can get a hold of it. It's another thick one. Oh, and this, see, is the Player's Handbook. So let's just compare this. So, Player's Handbook, it's slightly, I'd say basically just slightly thicker than the Dungeon Master's Guide in comparison. But this again is another really solid paperback book. And this, so this is a reprint of the revised edition of 2nd edition. Basically purchased by my friend Neve, and she's kindly let me unbox this for the perfectly good reason, or the perfectly bad reason, depending on my point of view, is that it has been suggested that we play through the classic campaign the night below. None of us have played through it, because essentially it's a 2nd edition campaign, and 2nd edition Dungeons and Dragons, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons campaigns don't get as much love as 1st edition ones. So ultimately, it's not Neve's fault. It's actually the fault of Scott, co-host of the Titty Pigs podcast, who wants to run this campaign for us, which is going to be interesting because it's not a campaign that we've actually really played. Anyway, Player's Handbook, big green solid paperback, nothing on the back, and we open it up, and we have basically a fuller picture of what would have been on the front originally. It's a lot easier to do this kind of insert than do sort of like a full colour piece. And then inside, table of contents, and this cover. And this, you can see how this covers, the basic step-by-step character creation, races, all of the classic classes, options for proficiencies, magic, money, equipment, combat, NPCs and so on, everything through wizard spells, druid spells, the whole everything in there that you would want. List of the tables. So basically it's just such a really solid book, almost a bit unwieldy. I don't remember certainly don't remember the 2nd edition Player's Handbook being quite as unwieldy as this, but that may well be the nature of the beast, i.e. as a reprint. So we get into the basics, and we start off with a lengthy sample of play, which I think is always a good idea, because it gives you an idea of, okay, how's this game played, what's it supposed to look like, and then we get into the step-by-step player character generation. It should be really kind of easy. You've got elves, dwarves, gnomes, half-elves, halflings and humans, and then there's the list of the table there, just thinking, okay, here's all the classes that they can tick. Obviously here's a really kind of weird artwork of a wizard sort of like caught in some kind of magical bubble in the front of a giant grouper fish. We go on to player ability scores, and there we have it. There we've got the influence table first. For strength, with you can have characters with 18 percentile skill scores in strength, but only for that. And it's one of the few benefits of fighters that they could have strength that high. So you'd have fighters wandering around. Yes, I've got 18 0 strength, which was always sort of like so unlikely. I know I did it. I expect other players did it as well. But yeah, so I've got an explanation to all the stats, and then we get into the player races. There we go. So not profusely illustrated, but layout again is clean, neat, and tidy. So you know, gnomes and half elves covered there. You know, and complete with, hey, yeah, we're going to make the halfling stand on the table, or sort of stand on a chair. You know, all right. And then we get a warrior class. And a very sort of like Elminster Gandalf style wizard there. And sort of like, and then strangely, the Lucius was always sort of like something seen as something even more arcane, often in its depictions. Okay, and then the Cleric, of course, depiction here as kind of the holy warrior, complete with, you know, a weapon not designed to spill blood, but you know, you've got a spiked mace there. I'm not sure how that's not supposed to spill blood. Illustration for the thief. You know, a little bit scurvy, a little bit untrustworthy, you know, being very surreptitious there. And then the bard, you know, all dressed in his motley. And then we've got a discussion here of things of like dual class benefits and restrictions. Before we get on to things like alignments. You know, big feature of Dungeons & Dragons. Less so these days, but there we go. I've got a nice bit of action there with the halflings sneaking around underneath the goblins or orcs there. And proficiencies. So these were optional, but introduced with second edition because and certainly probably introduced a sort of like thing at the time with the Unearthed Arcana supplement, as far as I recall, because we are talking, you know, 35 years ago, and I can remember the disruption caused by the Unearthed Arcana to your game. But the idea was sort of like characters can suddenly have skills and be able to do things more than their class is necessarily allowed. So that includes extra attacks and weapon proficiencies and non-weapon proficiencies and secondary skills, and suddenly you had characters who could, you know, actually could do, if they really wanted to, could do jobs outside of their adventuring careers. So lots of things on there. I mean, when they've got to money and equipment, weapons and so on, basically a fighter facing a hydra. Things like that. I mean, Cumbrett's another wizard, which probably not quite sure what's going on there. Presumably some kind of Death Knight. And this is covering all the magic here, discussing what the nature of magic, because obviously it's fundamentally you're covering the mechanics for handling the magic in the game, so it requires a lengthy discussion, and the idea of, you know, it's Vancian magic and here's how it works, and we'll get onto, you know, experience and options for handling that, and that's actually surprisingly Chapter 8. Chapter 8 is experience there. Okay, lean over. Chapter 9, combat. So not much guidance on experience there, but plenty of guidance on combat, including involving Thaco, and here we've got a thief at work trying to get open some kind of a secure door. I'm actually really enjoying the artwork in here. It's big, it's bold. There's a sense of sort of classic artwork. I would have thought, you know, you like the Hildebrand brothers, and seeing that on on the trading card sets that they would do that would have been come out sort of like in the late 90s. So yeah, combat covers saving throws, you're turning undead for your cleric. And then we get into chapter 11 encounters. Here we've got an underground city of some kind, which has a very basically Slavic feel. Time and movement. Yeah, some of the artwork isn't quite so good, but serviceable enough. And then we get on to Appendix 1, and essentially, okay, so here we've got the rules. Appendix 1, here we have the spell lists, and the spells, I'm presuming, is going to take up about that portion of the book. So we've got notes on spells, wizard spells, wizard spells, quite lengthy section of wizard spells, priest spells, Appendix 5, got a list of wizard schools by school. So that's invocation, like evocation, lesser greater divination, necromancy, combat, priest spells by sphere. And spheres would something that would really come into play. I think probably very much so by second, third edition. Then we've got Appendix 7, which is just a spell index, all useful stuff. And then the back we've got compiled character tables. So yeah, that's the Player's Handbook for Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, 2nd edition, which I am doing an unboxing for basically my friend Neve, so courtesy of her, thank you very much, and of course all due to Scott's fault. So if you want to blame anyone, go listen to the Titter Pigs podcast and blame its co-host Scott, for when we all get ready to run, we'll get ready to play Night Below. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you have, please do click the like button down below. If you've got any comments or feedback, appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxings on the Nook, where you will see me with a box and a book or a game, which I will unbox and talk about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by cats, not ours, and a nice hot cup of tea, then please do hit that subscribe button. In the meantime, thanks again for watching, and I'll be back again soon with another unboxing in the Nook. Bye for now.